All right, so now we're moving on to section A2. So it's still the same section, but now we're just going to go through more challenging and difficult algebraic, simplifying algebraic fractions. So it's just going to be a little bit more harder than the ones that we were just currently doing. But the exact same essential questions we want to think about, but now we're just going to be doing a little bit more complex problems. All right, so let's go ahead and do some of these. All right, so for this problem here, we're asked to simplify the expression x squared minus x minus 6 over top of x squared minus 4x plus 3. So the one thing that we need to do first is factor. All right, whenever we're solving algebraic fractions, we're going to have to pretty much factor almost every single problem. All right, it's what we're looking for first. It's not going to always be given to us as simple as x plus 2 times x minus 3 over top of x minus 3. It's not going to be given to you like that. You have to get to it. And we've already learned factoring. We've already done it for a long time. You've learned it for multiple years, so it's something that you definitely can do. So it's not that this is impossible. It's a little bit more work than what some of the other problems you might have done are. But it's not that bad. It's just a little bit more challenging because there's a few more steps to it. But what we do then is we look at each of these numerators and denominators by themselves. So we look to factor x squared minus x minus 6. Whatever method you use, you draw the x method. We multiply the number in front of our x, so we write multiplication, addition. We multiply the number in front of the x squared and the constant, so it's minus 6. Then this middle term just drops, so it's minus 1. We look for numbers that multiply to negative 6 and have a difference of 1, so that will then be negative 3 and 2. And we divide each of them over top of 1, so that means this numerator, because we divide by the number in front of the a squared, so that means this numerator factors out to x minus 3 because we start from the bottom. Now we're here, times x plus 2, because we start from the bottom, now we're there. All right, so this numerator factors out to x minus 3 times x plus 2. I know I just went through that kind of quickly, but it's something that we've done already. And if you're still having trouble with factoring, then we really need to discuss this and we really need to go over this. But because I'm assuming that at this point, since we've gone through it multiple times, that I can go through it kind of quickly so this video is a little bit shorter. Same thing, we need a factor. So we multiply 1 times 3, so it gives me 3. The minus 4 drops. So if numbers are going to multiply to be positive but add to be negative, I know they both have to be negative. It's the only way we can multiply to positive and add to negative. And numbers that multiply to 3 and add to 4 are 3 and 1. Both of them get divided by 1. So that means this denominator factors out to x minus 3 times x minus 1. Now, since we factor these, and these are being multiplied, not added and subtracted, we can cancel out our like factors. So x minus 3 cancels out with x minus 3, and our final answer is x plus 2 over top of x minus 1. So this expression that we have here, this algebraic expression, or rational expression, is equivalent or the same thing as this x plus 2 over x minus 1. So it's very important that you identify how to simplify. And it's really not that hard. You just have to be able to factor. And then we cancel out any like factors. All right, there's a couple more problems that we're going to do with this. All right, so we're asked to simplify this. So remember, first thing that we need to do is factor. So we have this 5x squared minus 20. Well, the very first thing that we always do when we're factoring is take out a GCF. 5 goes into both of these. So we're left with 5 times x squared minus 4. Now, once we have two terms, we know that if it's going to factor and it's a difference of two terms, then that means it's going to be a difference of squares if it will factor. So we look to see what a square root of x squared is x. The square root of x is, or the 4 is 2. So that means this will factor out to 5 times x plus 2 times x minus 2. So we can go ahead and rewrite that as our numerator because these are equivalent. So it's 5 times x plus 2 times x minus 2. Then we need to go ahead and factor out the denominator. So 10x squared minus 20x minus 80. So all of these numbers are divisible by 10, so we can factor out a 10. So x squared minus 2x minus 8. Then we need to factor out this trinomial. So since we multiply our 1 and our negative 8, so it's negative 8, the negative 2 just drops. Numbers that multiply to negative 8 and have a difference of negative 2 is negative 4 and 2. And then we would divide each of these by the number in front of the x squared, so over top of 1. So that means this factors out to 10. Started from the bottom, now we're here, so x minus 4. Started from the bottom, now we're here, so x plus 2. So then we will rewrite it, 10x minus 4 times x plus 2. And now we look for common factors. Well, the x plus 2 will cancel out with this x plus 2. This 5 and this 10 can reduce to 1 over 2. So that means we're left with x minus 2, our only factor left in our numerator, over top of 2 times x minus 4. Now, I will not make you multiply that 2 back in. You can leave it as its factored form, and that will be your final answer. All right, so once again, we have to simplify. So we look to rewrite our numerator and denominator off to the side, and we just look to factor. Well, remember, whenever we look for GCF first, none of them have it. Whenever we have a trinomial, we always want to see, is it a perfect trinomial square? Because if it is, then it just makes it easier for us to factor. Well, we can take the square root of 4x squared and 9, that's 2x, and that's 3. If we multiply them two together, it's 6x, and if we double it, that's 12x. So it matches the middle number, so that means it is a perfect trinomial square, so it factors out to our 2 square roots, 2x and 3. Whatever sign is here is the sign that's in between them, so it's minus, and it's raised to the second power because it factors out to a perfect trinomial square. All right, so that means this numerator can be rewritten as 2x minus 3 to the second power. Then we look to factor 8x minus 12. Well, the first thing is GCF. 8 and 12 are divisible by 4, so we can factor out that GCF, and we're left with 2x minus 3. So now we look to see, do we have any common factors? Well, we have a 2x minus 3 and a 2x minus 3, so this 2x minus 3 can cancel out one of them. So that means we're left with one more 2x minus 3 in our numerator and the 4 in our denominator, and that is our final answer. All right, there's one other thing I just want to show you real quick, just because a lot of times they don't necessarily work out to be identical. You just have to maybe maneuver or manipulate one more thing. So there's one more problem I'm going to go through. I realize this video is long, but it's kind of necessary because it's something that might be new and it's a little bit more challenging. All right, so if you were asked to simplify this problem, we would factor out the numerator. So we can factor out a 3, and we're left with a minus b. And if on a denominator, there's nothing to factor as of right now, but it's b minus a. And you look and you say, wow, these two factors are almost identical. It's a minus b, and this one's b minus a. The only thing that's different is the signs are different. So what that means then is we need to factor out a negative. So this b minus a, if we factor out a -1, we're then left with a negative b and a positive a, or a minus b. And it will match what we have in our numerator. So anytime you have the exact same terms, but just each sign is different, then you just need to factor out a negative out of one of them. It really doesn't matter. You can do it out of the numerator if you wanted to, out of this a minus b, and make it a positive b minus a. It's your call. They're both the same. But we know then that this will factor out to 3 over top of a minus b being divided by -1 over top of a minus b. And now these are the same factors, so we can cancel those out, and we're left with 3 divided by -1, which is -3. All right, and that would be your final answer. All right, that is it for this section. That is it for this video.